Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to put two small off-roaders head to head. We have the 2022 Jeep Renegade Trailhawk and the 2022 Ford Bronco Sport Big Bend. Both of these have an MSRP right around $30,000. However, the Ford Bronco Sport can creep up to $40,000 just depending on the trim level. For the Jeep Renegade, the Trailhawk is on the higher of the trim levels, so it's right in line with the Big Bend for today's comparison. Both of these are smaller, boxy size SUVs that have some off-road capabilities to them. So today we're going to take a look at all the engine specs, their off-road performance, get them out on the road, and then we'll see which one is better and why. We're going to start off with the Jeep Renegade and what powers this model. Underneath the hood is the 1.3 liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. You can opt for a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder as well. It's paired to the 9-speed transmission. Pumps out 177 horsepower and 210 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent through the four-wheel drive system. It weighs in right around 3,500 pounds. It'll do 0 to 60 in 9 seconds up to its top speed of 123 miles an hour. And it has a fuel capacity of 12.7 gallons. You'll expect to see around 22 miles per gallon in the city and 27 out on the highway. As far as the off-road specs go, this has ground clearance of 8.7 inches, and an approach angle of 30 degrees, a breakover angle of 25.7, and a departure angle of 34.3 degrees. As we work over to the Bronco now, this comes with a 1.5 liter EcoBoost 3-cylinder engine. However, a 2 liter 4-cylinder turbo is optional. It's paired to the 8-speed automatic transmission and pumps out 181 horsepower, 190 pound-feet of torque. That power sent through the four-wheel drive system. It weighs in right around 3,400 pounds. It'll do 0 to 60 in 7.5 seconds with a top speed of 125, and it has a fuel capacity of 16 gallons. You'll expect to see around 25 miles per gallon in the city, 28 out on the highway. And for the off-road specs, this has ground clearance of 8.8 inches, an approach angle of 30.4 degrees, a breakover angle of 20.4 degrees, and a departure angle of 33.1 degrees. Now, as we move on to the exterior styling now, we're going to start off with the Renegade. It has a really nice boxy front end design with the traditional Jeep grille running right in between the headlights. This does have halogen headlights though, and then it does have LED turn signals and LED fog lights in the lower section of the bumper. Finished off in plastic trim for an off-roader. That's nicer to see than it being finished off in body colored. Now, the Trailhawk also offers a lot of red accents like the two tow hooks that are front and center. There's also plenty of cutouts in the grills to provide a lot of cooling to that engine. And then this even has skid plates up underneath. Really nice to see that for a small off-roader. It has that protection. There's even a matte black trim piece running down the hood just to tie it in nicely, give it more of that aggressive look. And now moving on to the Bronco Sport. This retains a similar boxy design, very modern look to the original Bronco Sport, so it's nice to see that adaptation. Now, Bronco is spelled out right in the grille, and this model even has LED headlights, DRLs, and turn signals. That is an option, having the LED package, which I don't believe that the Renegade has that option for. There's plenty of cutouts in this grille and the lower section as well to provide a lot of cooling to that engine. And then there's more plastic trim in the lower section, just like the Renegade, to give it more of that sporty look and have a little bit more protection versus having that body colored. Really nice lines running down the hood, a little bit more subtle than on the Renegade. And then moving on to the side profile now, the Renegade has a smaller set of wheels. These are 17 inches with a little bit more of an all-terrain tire. More of that plastic trim runs along the fender flares and the lower side skirts. Like I mentioned earlier with the Renegade, all of the badges are red. There's even a trail rated badge above the front tire. This has black mirrors with the integrated turn signal. There's also roof racks up top, more gloss black running along the upper section of the windows, and it has a really nice, unique boxy design to it. I think it works really well for the design that this model has to offer. And then over on the Bronco Sport, surprisingly, it has a larger set of wheels with 18-inch wheels. They have a square shape to them to give it more of that retro design, which is great to see. This is the Big Bend, as I mentioned. The side mirrors do not have the integrated turn signal. However, you can get that on some higher trim levels. This has roof racks, even a bulge in that roof to give you a little bit more headroom for your backseat passengers. And then moving on to the Renegade, this has the spoiler up top with the third brake light. The wiper blade is in the lower section of the glass. This model does have LED taillights, which have a really nice matte black housing. It has a backup camera. The lower tow hook is finished off in red, of course. And this model even has a towing capacity right around 2,000 pounds, so you could hook up a smaller trailer if you needed to. makes it very capable for the size of this vehicle. And then over on the Bronco Sport, no spoiler, this does have the third brake light up top, same position for that rear wiper blade. This does have LED taillights as well. All of the letters are finished off in white for Bronco Sport to give it more of that retro design. This can even tow up to 2,000 pounds as well. So very practical for the size again, very good competitor. And then moving on to the cargo space now, we're gonna start off with this Renegade. Now you can't actually open up the rear glass. All you can do is open up the lift gate as I'm showing right now. And there's a good amount of storage with the back seats up. Plenty of room for any items you'd like to place in here. For the smaller size, it's very adequate. There's some storage bins on both sides. And then when you do fold those back seats down, which have a 60-40 split, there's a lot more space, really no overhang. So you can fit a lot of items in here. This even has a spare tire up underneath, along with a little bit of storage if you need to use it. Over on the Bronco Sport, I really like the fact that the rear glass opens up. Now that opening is very narrow, so you're probably not putting a lot of items through there, but it's really cool to see. Not a lot of vehicles, even smaller size vehicles like this, have that option, and then we can open up the liftgate just like on the Renegade. Very, very similar amount of space for the Bronco Sport. There's some cutouts on both sides, just like in the Renegade, and with the back seats folded down, there's a lot more space. Just like I mentioned, you can haul all of your items with you for the day and easily pack them in the back. This even has a 12 volt, so you can charge some electronics if you need to. In the back seats now for the Jeep Renegade, it has some nice trim pieces on the door panel, matches nicely with the exterior color. There's some matte black trim pieces here and there surrounding the window trim, even a grill logo on the surround for the speaker, which is a great touch to see. And then looking at these seats, they are finished off in cloth with a cool design running down the insert. There's a nice little graphic along with some letters. And then as we move into the interior, I am 5'10". I had plenty of room with the front seat set at my height, even a lot of room above my head. I was very impressed with the amount of headroom both in the front seats and in the rear seats. Right in the middle, there's also a USB and a 3-prong outlet, and then just getting another look with the back seats down, plenty of room for anything you'd like to pack. Over on the Bronco Sport, with that bulge that I mentioned earlier, it gives you even more headroom than the Renegade, I think. Plenty of room for your front seat passengers as well, and then just getting another look with those back seats down. Plenty of space for anything that you need. Moving on to the front seats now, in the Renegade, like I mentioned earlier, it has even more red trim for your front seat passengers. I wish that was carried over to the back seat passengers though, but it gives it a really cool design, matches the Trailhawk logo in the seats, along with all the red stitching, gives it a really cool vibe, especially with this exterior color. Over on the Bronco Sport, a little bit more simple. All of the colors kind of tie in nicely together. Nothing too dramatic or exciting. Bronco is down on the door sill there. However, these seats have a really nice design. Even though they're finished off in cloth, there's a denim-like material running down the insert, so kind of more on the plain side, but still gives it a really nice look. And then the center gauge cluster for the Jeep Renegade is pretty configurable. We do have the analog tach and speedometer. And then right in the middle, there are 9 different settings to go through. You can also configure what you'd like to see on the screen. You can go through your MPG, go through your TPMS, look at your music, your audio, navigation. There is a lot to scroll through. It gives you a lot of great options, which is nice. Over on the Bronco Sport, same analog gauges for the tach and the speedometer, and then there's some information to go through within that center screen. However, it is a little bit smaller, but you do get a good amount of information just to go through all of your vitals and basics that you need to see. Over on the Renegade, this has an 8.4-inch touchscreen system. Very easy to go through. I do like the fact that the lower section has all of your presets, and those are configurable, so you can drag and drop icons depending on what you'd like to use the most in that lower section. So it's very simple, straightforward. It gives you everything that you need. You can pair your phone, obviously, go through all of that information. On the Bronco Sport, it has a little bit larger of a screen, a little bit less configurable as well. All of those favorites on the lower section are fixed. So navigation, phone, audio, apps, those do not move, and you can't drag and drop anything to the bottom. However, this model does have navigation, so for a similar price, you get that factory in the Bronco Sport. Really clear system, easy to go through. Underneath both of those screens on the Renegade are all the climate controls. Very easy to go through all of that information. And then in the very lower section is all of the driving modes for the Jeep Renegade. So this has auto, snow, sand, mud, and rock. There's even a 4-wheel drive lock, and all of those settings will appear on the center gauge cluster, so that way you can see what mode you're in. Over on the Bronco Sport, this has the GOAT modes, which means goes over any terrain, where you can see sand, normal, there's even an eco mode, sport mode, and then slippery and wet. This is one of my favorite smaller size SUVs, simply because it's one of the few, if not the only, that is purpose built for off-road. Now obviously this is not a hardcore off-roader. It's probably not going to see off the pavement too often, but we have a lot of different driving modes to take this off-road, and I have seen some videos of this actually doing trails and not just taking it on some gravel roads or straight situations like that. You can actually take this off-road, get some articulation with it, and it's cool to see that for a vehicle like this, you can do that. And I think that for the size of this as well, it's packaged very nicely. Plenty of room for all of your passengers, a lot of room behind the seats for that cargo area, and the fact that you can hook up a small trailer. You could haul maybe some dirt bikes, something, a 4-wheeler, if you're going off-road or getting into those gravel situations, you were pulling something. It's the best of both worlds. As far as maneuverability goes, with a quick 3-point turn, pretty tight. So if you do happen to take this off the pavement, it's going to be very nimble, especially through tight trails. And we'll give it one acceleration just in normal mode here. That is pretty peppy. Mild acceleration, we're up to speed. So for the smaller size engine and the lightweight of this vehicle, it's pretty peppy. It'll get up and move. I love the exterior styling and the exterior design, and I also love how Ford has retained the old school Bronco look, and they've brought it to the modern era with both the Bronco Sport and the Bronco. But the Bronco Sport is a very aggressive smaller size SUV. I love the bulges in the hood that you can see from the driver's seat, and if you want to stick out a little bit, you want something different than your typical vehicle, I think the Bronco Sport is a great option, both with its exterior design and its interior design as well. As I mentioned earlier, this is based off of the Escape platform. It is a little bit shorter, but at the same time, you're not really sacrificing any interior room. And then going ahead and giving it a little bit more gas, we are getting up to the speed limit just like that. You can opt for the larger engine if you like, which is a 2-liter engine, but with the 1.5-liter EcoBoost, I don't see any issues with it. It definitely has a good amount of power for the weight of this vehicle. Overall, this is a great smaller size vehicle. If you're looking for something like this, we have the 4-wheel drive system, all of those GOAT modes, which means goes over all terrain. You can get a few more different driving modes just depending on the trim level that you go with. So this is missing a few compared to some of the more off-road focused trim levels for the Bronco Sport. Coming back to our final thoughts now between the Jeep Renegade Trailhawk and the Ford Bronco Sport Big Bend. I've had a little bit more seat time behind the wheel of the Ford. I was even out in Austin, Texas for the Ford Bronco Off-Rodeo to drive the larger Bronco. They did have the Bronco Sports there, which I wasn't able to drive, but I was able to see them going through the trails, really articulating and actually going off the pavement, which is really cool to see. For the size of these vehicles, they're actually capable off-road. Now, I've seen videos of the Jeep Renegade. I haven't seen that in person off the trails, but it's really cool to see that we have a small boxy style for this SUV. If you're not looking for a large SUV, it is still pretty capable. It has a lot of interior storage, which is very surprising for both of these models with their sizes, how much you can fit on the interior. You can even tow a small trailer if you want to. So it's actually a pretty capable vehicle for its size. And I love the fact that it's very rugged. It has those off-roading settings. If you want to take this camping, you're going to the lake somewhere, you're taking this off the pavement, going up to the mountains, it's a very practical vehicle that's going to get you through those situations. Now, the Ford Bronco Sport and the Jeep Renegade are not hardcore off-roaders. If you want the hardcore version, you get the Jeep Wrangler or the Ford Bronco, so the larger one. These are more for gravel trails that might have a dip here and there with a little bit of articulation, but they have that 4-wheel drive system to get you up and moving. Now, like I mentioned earlier, you can get larger engine options, which I would probably opt for, but I picked 2 models that had a similar price as well as the similar engine in them. I would personally opt for the larger engine just to get a little bit more power. These were fairly adequate in both of these models. And to pick between the Jeep Renegade Trailhawk and the Ford Bronco Sport, I'm a little bit torn. I was in the Jeep Renegade for a good amount of time, and I honestly don't know. Which one would you pick? Comment down below. I think I would lean a little bit more towards the Jeep Renegade. However, I do love the larger Bronco. The Bronco Sport is cool. maybe I need a different trim level. Like I said earlier, you can go up to around $40,000 to get some more off-road features. The Big Bend was more on the baseline a little bit, so you can get some more options. It has a lot more configurability with the four-wheel drive system, having the four-wheel drive lock, even a downhill assist control. I think you can get that on the higher trim levels for the Ford Bronco Sport. So I am a little bit torn. I do like the exterior styling on the Jeep Renegade. Ford Bronco though has a really cool design to it too. So these are two perfect size SUVs that have off-road capabilities, perfect for the family too. It's smaller size, yet it has a lot of space. So let me know down below, would you pick the Jeep Wrangler Trailhawk or the Ford Bronco Sport Big Bend? Let me know your thoughts. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. I will see you all in the next video.